The crime of being a daughter. It was a cold evening when the sound of rain touched the broken windows of a small house at the corner of the village. Inside, a young girl named Ayesha sat quietly near the wooden door, watching the drops slide down the glass like tiny silver threads. Her eyes were tired, her clothes old, and her hands slightly shaking. She was only 16, yet life had already shown her the kind of cruelty that even grown people couldn't bear. Her father, Rafik, was a man of short temper and heavy silence. Ever since Ayesha's mother had passed away 2 years ago, the house had turned darker. The laughter that once echoed through the small rooms had disappeared, replaced by harsh words and long silences. Ayesha tried every day to bring some peace back into her father's heart, but he seemed to see in her only one thing, the shadow of the woman he had lost. She would wake early, prepare breakfast, clean the house, and wait for him to speak. But his words, if they came, were sharp. "You are just like her," he would say, not out of love but anger. "You bring nothing but pain." Every time those words reached her ears, Ayesha would lower her eyes and whisper to herself, "One day he will see I am not his burden." At school she was different, quiet but kind. Her teachers admired her patience. Her best friend Sana often told her, "You'll do something great one day, Ayesha, you have a light in you." Ayesha would smile softly and reply, "Maybe, but not while I am under his roof." Every day after school, she would go to a small hill nearby where wildflowers grew between the stones. That was her secret place, a place where she could dream. Sometimes she would close her eyes and imagine her mother sitting beside her, holding her hand and saying, "You are stronger than you think." But one evening, everything changed. Rafik came home earlier than usual. His eyes were red, his voice trembling. "Where were you?" he shouted. Ayesha froze. "At school, then the hill," she whispered. "Liar," he screamed. "People in the village talk, they say you wander like a shameless girl, you have no respect left." His hand raised before she could even finish her words. The slap echoed in the small room like thunder. Ayesha stumbled backward, tears filling her eyes. "Baba," she said in a shaking voice, "I did nothing wrong." But he didn't listen. He turned away, breathing heavily as if fighting his own demons. Ayesha ran to her small room, closed the door, and cried silently. That night she didn't eat. She just sat near the window, watching the moon rise behind the clouds. "Why is being a daughter a crime?" she whispered to the night. "Why does my love always look like guilt to him?" The next morning she went to school as usual, but something had broken inside her. Even her smile had a tremor in it. Her teacher, Mrs. Nadia, noticed her sadness and asked gently, "Is everything all right at home, Ayesha?" She nodded quickly, not wanting to open the wounds. Days turned into weeks. The fights continued. Rafik's anger grew heavier with each passing day. One afternoon, Ayesha found an old photo of her parents, her mother smiling, holding her as a baby. The picture had dust on it. She wiped it clean and kept it near her heart. "If only you were here, Amma," she whispered. "You would have protected me." That night the storm returned both outside and inside the house. Rafik had lost his job at the mill. He came home drunk, something he had never done before. Ayesha tried to stay silent, but his rage needed a target. "You eat my food, live in my house, and still make me look like a fool," he shouted. "Why didn't God take you instead of her?" Those words stabbed her deeper than any wound. She felt her heart twist, her breath slow. For a moment she wanted to scream, to tell him everything, how much she loved him, how she prayed every night for him. But she stayed quiet. She packed a small bag, placed her mother's picture inside, and walked out into the rain. She didn't know where she was going. She just kept walking until the streets turned into fields and the fields into silence. Finally, she reached the small hill, her secret place. She sat there under a tree, soaked, shivering but free. "Maybe," she said softly, "this is what peace feels like." The night was long, and the rain didn't stop. In the morning, an old shepherd found her lying near the wildflowers, unconscious but alive. He took her to a nearby shelter where a kind woman named Rubina cared for lost children. When Ayesha woke up, she was confused, afraid, but Rubina's voice was gentle. "You are safe here, my dear," she said. "No one will hurt you." Days passed, and Ayesha began helping around the shelter, teaching small kids how to read and write. The children loved her. Her smile returned slowly like sunlight after a storm. For the first time she felt needed, not as someone's burden, but as someone's hope. One day Rubina told her, "You are meant to do something bigger. You have a gift, Ayesha, you heal others even when you are broken." Years went by. Ayesha completed her studies through night classes. She worked hard, became a teacher at the same shelter where she was once saved. The children called her Miss Hope. She laughed every time she heard that name. But deep inside, she still thought of her father. Every Eid she would write him a letter but never send it. Maybe he still hates me, she would think, or maybe he misses me too. Then one summer morning a letter came to the shelter. It was from the village head. Your father Rafik is very sick, it said. He wishes to see you. Ayesha froze, her hands trembled as she read the words again and again. Her heart whispered, go. When she reached the village, everything looked smaller, quieter. The same house stood there, old and cracked. Inside she saw her father lying on a bed, weak and pale. For a moment neither spoke. Then Rafik's eyes filled with tears. Ayesha, he whispered, his voice trembling. I was wrong. I punished you for something you never did. I thought losing your mother was pain, but losing you was worse. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She knelt beside him and held his hand. Baba, she said softly, I never left you. I just waited for your heart to open. He smiled faintly, his eyes closing as if a heavy burden had lifted. You were never my curse, he said. You were my forgiveness. He passed away that night, holding her hand. Ayesha buried him next to her mother, placing flowers between their grave. As the wind blew gently, she whispered, I forgive you, Baba, and I'll make sure no daughter ever feels unloved. Years later, Ayesha started an organization named